The data race is on, and when you think of the data race, you think of Google, Amazon, Facebook. But look in your own utilities, and you're consuming a tremendous amount of data, right? Just smart meters alone. We heard Steve earlier today talk about a power plant producing 1 terabyte a day. And then when you look at the advanced grid management systems that are forthcoming and the sensors involved, you can see that utilities are big data companies too. And utilities are in the big data race. So managing big data is essential to the way you do business. I love this quote from InfoWorld. If big data is essential, why are so many companies still struggling to put their data to good use? Does that resonate with anybody? A little trouble? Well, to me, when you step back, it sort of makes some sense. If you look at data science with platform computing, it is changing the way we do business. It's a paradigm shift. I equate it back to the early days, about 25 plus years ago, of network computing. And network computing changed the way all of us work today. When I look back, we are running these sprints all the time, and when you look back at network computing, we're in the middle of a marathon. But when you're in it, you can't see it. So you've got to sprint along, and we had no idea what this marathon, where it was going to end up. So me being the tech guy, got to get all these neat little tools together. And so I was carrying the old bag phone. You remember the bag phone? A few of you? Well, a few of you don't. Have you ever seen the movie Wall Street and they had that big brick on the side? Well, this is before that. And then I also had the first portable computer. It was the size of a suitcase, a compact. It was about this big. You could carry it around. It wouldn't pass the test for the 50 pounds to get on the airplane, though. It was that heavy. But when you step back and look at that, they were the early days of what was coming, and who could have imagined that you'd get this? This is a network computer in the palm of your hands. It is pervasive. It is absolutely critical to business and everything that we do. It's actually critical to the way we live our lives today. So the question is, how do you get in this race to start playing? The first thing you have to do is create a small team. And it's a small SWAT team focused on how do I drive value from data science. A couple of success factors. One, you have to break the team out. Don't encumber the team with day-to-day activities that they're doing. It's not a second job. It's got to be the primary job. The second is you got to have executive support. And you heard about some of that from earlier speakers, but it's really important. You want the team to challenge conventional wisdom, and you have to go cross-functional. The value of data is not sitting within your function. It's lifting it up and looking at it across the board. The third is focus on an imperative. How do you get to something that's big enough that matters? If not, your team will probably suffer death by use case. They'll do a lot of little incremental things that just don't matter much. And the fourth is this concept called discovery-driven planning. And all of the teams that I was on use some form of discovery-driven planning. It's a very simple concept. You start with a concept, with a business case. And when you have that concept, I always apply the half-right test. Are they half right in what they put forward? And if the numbers still work, we continue. If not, we deep six it. And then you move to proof of concept. Proof of concept today is taking a subset of what you're trying to do and really creating a prototype. The technology allows you to do that fairly quickly. Again, the proof of concept, it proves the hypothesis, move forward, take that prototype and scale it into production. If it doesn't work, again, get rid of it, move on to the next thing. You want to move quickly in participating in this. So let me give you a couple of examples that we're applying this today with utilities across the country. I'll just focus on two. One is a large California utility. And their team was formed to make DR, demand response, a more reliable resource. They needed a more reliable resource because they had a lot of solar coming in on the grid, and they wanted to use demand response much more effectively than what they had in the past. Their concept was, if we could do load forecasts for every DR participant, we could then run some event scenarios and figure out, make events more reliable and DR more reliable. So we created a proof of concept, put their hypothesis to the test, and it proved to be right on. We actually improved the reliability of the resource by 30 to 40%. Today, we do event predictions for 500,000 customers covering about 330 megawatts. We generate 5 million reference and event forecasts every single day, and we have to do it with the weather that comes in at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we're done by 8:30. It's less than 30 minutes. So that's one of the key factors is the concept and the power of platform computing. A few years ago, that may have taken hours and hours to get done. Now, the group that was doing that is moving on, and our next step with them is machine to machine. We don't do demand response. We just sit over the top of it. So how do you take those events and tie them into your demand response management system and let the machines talk to each other? That's the next step that we're working on. They also created a new group based on the learnings and saying, how do we use those forecasts to forecast every service delivery point and relook at the way we do distribution planning and operations?